In this video, we're going to look at solving and graphing inequalities on a number line. So we solve an inequality just like we would an equation. We just have to make sure that we keep our inequality in it so we don't get lost later on in our problem. And we also have to remember this rule, which is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip your inequality. If you don't flip it, you're going to end up selecting all the wrong answers. So if you multiply or divide by a negative, flip that inequality. Next, we're going to look at the number line. So there's two parts of what we have to do for a number line, and that's look at the circles and then look at the shading. So with our circle, if you have a less than or greater than symbol, you're going to have an open circle, which means that you do not want to include that number in your solution set. If you have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, so those are those lines underneath it, it's going to be a closed circle, and that means that you want to include that value in your solution set. For the shading, if your variable is on the left side, then it's going to point in the direction that you want to shade. So if you have x is less than or equal to, or x is less than, you're going to shade to the left because those are where the smaller values are. If you have x is greater than or equal to, or x is greater than, you want to shade to the right because those are where those larger values are going to be. Okay, so let's look at our first two examples. Okay, so we're going to solve them just like we would in an equation. So we're going to do the part that's touching the variable last, and we're going to move everything to the other side by doing the opposite. So the opposite of minus 4 would be to add it to both sides. Okay. These are going to cancel out. We're going to bring down everything we didn't use, and then we're going to do 2 plus 4, which is going to give us 6. When a number is touching a variable, that's multiplying, so we're going to do the opposite to move it to the other side. So the opposite of multiplying would be to divide it. So the 3's are going to cancel out. We have x is less than, and then 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we want to graph x is less than 2. So we're going to start off with our circle. And so we can see it doesn't have the equal to, so we don't want to include it. So at 2, we're going to have an open circle. And then for our shading, we have x is less than, so it's this one right here. So we're going to shade to the left. And if we think about what it's telling us, it does make sense. It says that x is less than 2. And so the values that are smaller than 2 are going to be on the left side. So we're shaded on that side. So we're saying that we're starting at 2 but not including 2, and all our solutions are everything that's smaller than that number. So for example 2, we're going to start off the same way. So the part with the x is the last part we're going to touch. So we're going to do the opposite of adding 5, which would be minus 5 on both sides. We're going to cancel out, so we get negative 2x is less than or equal to. And then when we go to put these two numbers together, we can see that they're the same sign. So we're going to add and keep the sign. So we're going to say negative. We're going to do 3 plus 5 because we have more negatives now. So it's going to give you a negative 8. These are multiplying, so we're going to do the opposite of that, which would be to divide by it. The negative 2's cancel out. You get x. And then since we divided by a negative, we're going to flip that around. So we're going to get x is greater than or equal to. When we do the division, the negatives are actually going to cancel out, and you get 4. And I want to clarify that the reason why we flip the inequality is because that bottom number was negative, not because of the top. The top can be positive or negative. That part doesn't matter, just the bottom part. If you divide by a negative, then you got to flip it. Okay, so I'm going to put a 4 right there. We have the equal to, so we want to include that value. So I'm going to have a closed circle right here. And then it says x is greater than, and then we can see our inequality is pointing to the right, and that's where the larger values would be. So 5, 6, 7, 8, and onwards would be on the right side. So that's why we're going to shade to the right. Okay, so for the next part, I want you guys to pause the video and try these 3 problems, and then after you tried it, come back and finish the video to see if you did them correctly. So again, pause the video and try these, and then come back and check your work. On number 3, we're going to start with the number that's by itself. So we covered the variable, and we're going to do that last. So the opposite of adding 8 is subtracting 8. These cancel out. We have our 4x is greater than or equal to. And then these are the same signs, so we're going to add it and get negative 12. And then we're going to divide by the number that's multiplying the x. The 4's cancel out, we get x. And this time we're not going to flip it because the bottom number is positive. But now when we divide these are different signs, so our answer is going to be negative, and then 12 divided by 4 is going to give you 3. Okay, so we have our circle at negative 3. It does have the equal to, so we're going to have a closed circle right there to include it. And it says x is greater than, and it's pointing to the right, so we're going to shade this to the right of the graph, or that right of that point, sorry. Looking at number 4, we're going to cover the part with the x and move the number. So the opposite of plus 6 is going to be minus 6. These cancel out. We get negative 3x is less than. And then these are the same signs. So we're going to add them and keep this sign. So we're going to get negative 21. Then we're going to divide by the number that's multiplying the x. These are going to cancel out. You get x. And we divided by negative, so we're going to flip our inequality. The negatives are going to cancel out. 21 divided by 3 is going to give us 7. Okay, so I'm going to put my 7 right there. It does not have an equal to, so we do not want to include it. So it's going to be an open circle. It is x is greater than, so we want the larger values, and it's pointing to the right, so we're going to shade to the right. For number 5, cover our x. This is minus 3, so the opposite would be to add it. 3's are going to cancel out. We bring down our 5x, bring down our inequality. So now when we go to put these together, they're different signs, so we're going to subtract them. So larger minus smaller, and keep the sign of the larger number, so that's that 23. So our answer is going to be negative. 23 minus 3 gives us 20. So we have 5x is less than negative 20. So these are multiplying, so we're going to divide by what's doing the multiplication. These cancel out, we get x. And again, the bottom part is positive, so we do not have to flip our inequality. And they're different signs, so when you divide that, it's going to give you a negative number. 20 divided by 5 gives you 4. So we have x is less than negative 4. So right here we're going to put our negative 4. There's no equal to, so it's going to be an open circle. And x is smaller, so you want the side with the smaller values, which is going to be the left. And again, if you look at your inequality, it's pointing to the left side. So that's where we're going to shade to the left. So hopefully you guys were able to get this. If you're still not getting it, please feel free to message any of the instructors in this course to help you out.